is an interesting item because unlike what we see depicted in artwork, the crown of thorns is more designed as a helmet than the hula hoop event that we see in a lot of being depicted in artwork. The crown of thorns was documented as being in Jerusalem in 409 AD. It was transferred from Constantinople in 1063, although it seems that the thorns were removed and presented to various rulers in Europe at an earlier date. In 1238, Baldwin II, the Latin emperor of Constantinople, anxious to obtain support for his tottering empire, offered the crown of thorns to Louis IX, King of France, who built the Sainte-Chapelle to house it. During the French Revolution, the crown was kept in the Bibliothèque Nationale until 1806, when the thornless remains were deposited in the Cathedral of Notre Dame. The Holy Nails. Now I have replicas that are documented to have been made in the 1800s and embedded in the iron were filings from the true nails that were touched to the true nails and then housed in the urban basilica of the Church of Santa Cruz. The Holy Nails were discovered by Constantine's mother, the Empress Helen, who I like the name Helena Regina, about 300 years after the crucifixion. According to the legend, one nail was tossed into the Adriatic to calm a storm. The other two were used by the Empress to protect her son. One was placed in his crown and another one formed a bridle for his horse. Filings were often taken from the true nails and embedded into copies to make relics of a lower class. Some of these are presented as true nails rather than copies, but it's safe to say that the ones kept in Santa Croce in Jerusalem, the church Santa Croce of Jerusalem in Rome, is among those most likely to be one of the true nails used in the crucifixion. I have a wonderful ex ossibus bone relic of St. Longinus. St. Longinus is a centurion who pierced the side of Christ while he was hanging on the cross, and it was he who was to exclaim, "Indeed, this was the Son of God." Now, the way this happened was, supposedly, when Longinus pierced the side of Christ, he was partially blind in one of his eyes, and some of the water and blood issued from the side of Christ and splashed into his face, where his sight was restored. After this happened, and he exclaimed, "Indeed, this was the Son of God," St. Longinus then converted, left the army, took instructions from the apostles, and became a monk in Cappadocia. There he was arrested for faith and beheaded. St. Longinus's relics are now in the Church of St. Augustine in Rome. Part of his lance is contained in one of the 4 pillars over the altar in the Basilica of St. Peter's in Rome. I have a very special relic. It's the effigy of the Veil of Veronica. It was one of the last 8 relics given out by Cardinal Peter Canisius van Leerde. The veneration of the Veil of Veronica dated back to the pontificate of John VII, which is 705 to 707, according to the chronicles of Benedetto de Sante Andre. In 1011, Pope Sergius IV consecrated a special altar for the veneration of the sudarium, which means the veil or sweatcloth. As Benedetto stated, a regular veneration was established in the 12th century, adding to its status and popularity, which grew with its establishment of the Holy Years in 1300 by Pope Boniface VIII. Veronica was the woman who wiped the face of Christ with a veil while he was on his way to Calvary. According to tradition, the cloth was imprinted with the image of Christ's face. The relic is still preserved in St. Peter's, and the memory of Veronica's act of charity is commemorated in the Stations of the Cross. We'll discuss some scientific investigations. Ultraviolet examinations of the cloth, the Veil of Veronica, carried out by Professor Donato Votari of the University of Bari, confirmed that the image is not paint. Particularly noteworthy are several small flecks of reddish-brown, presumably drops of blood, from the wounds caused by the crown of thorns. Enlarged detail photographs of the veil reveal that the image is identical on both sides of the cloth. a feat impossible to achieve by ancient techniques. These photographs have also been used to compare the veil to the face on the Shroud of Turin, which millions of Christians believe to be Jesus' burial sheet. Striking similarities are apparent. The faces are the same shape, both have shoulder-length hair, with a tuft on the forehead, and the beards match. Now, this is a little story about the relic of the Veil of Veronica. History records the existence of this relic from the 4th century, but only from the Middle Ages was it strongly linked to the Passion of Christ. From the 12th century until 1608, it was kept in the Vatican Basilica as a popular goal of pilgrims mentioned in the Canto 31 of Dante's Paradise. When the part of the basilica containing the relic was scheduled to be torn down for remodeling, the relic disappeared overnight. According to the records of the monastery, the wife of a soldier sold the veil to a nobleman in Montepello in 1608 to get her husband out of jail. The nobleman in turn donated it to the Capuchins. In 1618, it was placed in a walnut frame adorned with silver and gold between 2 sheets of glass. It remained in the monastery ever since. Father Pfeiffer invested 13 years of searching through the archives to prove that this is the same cloth that disappeared in 1608. Now, I have a piece of the Holy Shroud of Sindonis. Mine is a piece of the outside external wrappings that the cloth is Shroud of Turin has been rolled up in. So Sindonis means from the burial shroud of our Lord. My relic, of course, is believed to be from the external wrappings that the shroud was rolled up in when it was not being venerated. Throughout history, references have been made to this practice. June 6, 1483, Jean Langlois and Georges Carrelet, respectively chaplain and sacristan of Sainte-Chapelle, draw up an inventory in which the shroud was described as enveloped in a red silk drape and kept in a case covered with crimson velvets, decorated with silver gilt nails and locked with a golden key. In 1498, King Louis initiates extensive remodeling of the Sainte-Chapelle in Paris. An inventory detailing the shroud, when at Turin in the same year, describes the case as a coffer converted with crimson velours, in a silver gilt roses in the side silver, and the holy shroud wrapped in a cloth of red silk. April 28, 1868, the Princess of Savoy, daughter of Victor Emmanuel II and wife of Prince Girolamo Napoleon, changes the shroud's former lining of black silk that had been sewn by Sebastian Vare back in 1694, substituting for a crimson taffeta. An official record of this, with samples of the former black silk lining, is preserved in Turin. On the same date, the shrouds is measured by Monsignor Gastaldi, then Bishop of Lazio, and later Archbishop of Turin, and found to be 410 centimeters by 140. May 11th, 1955. Cheshire receives a letter from Miss Veronica Woolham of Gloucester, asking if her 10-year-old daughter Josephine, who was crippled in her leg and her hip, could be blessed with the relic of the Holy Shroud. Unable to travel by air because of his lungs, Cheshire takes Josephine and her mother by train, first to Portugal, for ex-King Umberto's permission, then to Turin in the hope of her being healed via the shroud. The shroud is taken out of the casket and its seals are broken, and Josephine is allowed to put her hand inside beneath its silk covering. But it is not unrolled. Although there is no immediate change in Josephine's condition, she later recovers to lead a normal life.